Howdy, y'all. It's Curious Raven here on this Friday with some scary haunted stories. I hope y'all enjoy. Number 1. I was staying at the Sahara Hotel, 19th floor, in Las Vegas this weekend. The room had 3 large mirrors, 2 facing each other and 1 facing the bed. First night was normal. Nothing paranormal happened, and we slept fine. But on the second night, my friend and I were separately woken up by strange sounds and feelings of being touched or moved. The next morning we talked, and it turns out we were both hearing tapping sounds, knocks, felt our sheets being moved or pulled, and just had an overwhelming sense of dread the entire night. Final night was the same. Taps coming from the windows or what sounded like the counters, knocks on the ceiling, shadows in the corners of the room, etc. A while into this sleepless night, I woke up randomly and watched my blanket being lifted off my chest as if someone was pinching the blanket into a tent shape. I stared at it rise for about 4 seconds, and then it fell as if whatever was lifting it noticed I was watching. I was tempted to wake up my friend, but didn't, and instead grabbed my blanket tight and tried to fall back asleep, hoping the night would end and we could get the hell out of there. Number 2. I was at a cemetery visiting family who had passed. I decided to wander off and visit some other graves, when suddenly I stop at this grave of a girl who passed when she was my age. My sibling comes along, and we are speaking in front of the girl's grave of how pretty she is, etc., because she had a picture of herself on her grave. Suddenly we began to smell the strong scent of roses in front of her grave when there was no roses or other flowers nearby. The weather that day was also really humid and there was no wind. I took 2 steps back and the smell completely vanished. Then I took 2 steps forward to her grave and began to smell the strong flower smell again. Was this the girl's spirit trying to communicate, or was it purely coincidental? Number 3. Okay, so yesterday evening, I went to go to bed with my boyfriend, and his daughter's ring light turned itself on in her bedroom by itself. I see the light on and she's not home, so I tell him to check it out. When he opens the door, the ring light is on with obviously no one in there. We look at each other, both confused, and when we look back, it shuts itself off. I was in the kitchen just watching the light linger out the doorway until it shut off. He said, "Nope," and shut the door. Flash forward, maybe an hour, and we were laying in our bed when out of nowhere our Alexa device beeps like the volume had been adjusted. We paid no mind and went to bed. This evening, things got, well, spooky to say the least. Started with the loud bang from our living room, with me in my bedroom and my boyfriend and his daughter in her room. He texted me simultaneously to ask if it was me, as I was texting him the same. Shortly after, I'm on the phone with a good friend, and my Alexa again 3 times changed its own volume. I unplug Alexa, and the one in my boyfriend's daughter room turns itself to max volume. I hear him fighting with it to turn down and continues to do this with him until he unplugs it. I open our bedroom to find my light in the living room on. It was off, and I had turned it off. I go to walk away, and it turns back on. So I turn it off again. This happened 3 times before I manually switched it completely off. I get to my bedroom, and the ring light in his daughter's room turns on and off 3 times on its own. He unplugs it. Shortly after, Alexa in the living room starts to play music, so I go out and unplug that. I walk to my bedroom, and the Alexa in my bathroom is now on. Just full blast playing music, so I'll unplug it. When I get out of the bathroom, the entertainment center lights are on. so I have to unplug that. As I go to walk out, the TV turns on. I turn it off. I go to walk out and the PS5 now turns on. I walked away because I was just done. About 10 minutes later, I go to turn off the PS5 and my TV turns back on. This TV is very old. I don't even have the remote. I turn all of it all off and I get mad and kind of yell out that I am done and it's enough. And I shit you not. I go to walk out of the living room and the kitchen sink turns on. I am talking about full blast on. I stop dead in my tracks and start to panic. My boyfriend comes out, sees the water running and me, and is just confused and concerned. I ended up pacing for about 20 minutes, panicking, when my boyfriend stops me and suddenly I feel two hands around my throat. It feels like the air in my lungs have been sucked out. There is a fear in my bones I've literally never felt before, and I can't breathe. Couldn't even gasp for air. I dropped to the floor and my boyfriend ran to get me water thinking I was just having a panic attack or something. By the time he got back in front of me, he released me, and it felt as though someone took a burning pan to my throat. Tingling from the feeling is still there. What the actually fuck do I do here? Number 4. Back in 2007, my wife and our 2 young children moved into our first house we rented. It had sat empty for about 5 or so years and was built in 1902. It's so old that the main beam in the Michigan basement was a huge tree log where the builder carved into it and put in cross beams. I went over one day to open it up and do a deep clean before moving in. Our landlord said he would be dropping by to drop off our rental agreement we signed. I was on the main floor when I heard footsteps coming from upstairs. I called out his name but got no response. The footsteps stopped. I went upstairs and heard and felt the closet door shut in our soon-to-be daughter's room. I opened the door, but there was no one. I went back down and explained that we were a young family and that we mean no harm. I gave a cautious warning that if it were here to hurt my family, I would do everything possible to remove whatever was here. Big mistake. About 3 months into living there, we went away for the weekend. Upon coming home, I was carrying our daughter upstairs with my wife, bringing up our infant son. I opened her bedroom door and a black cat was sitting on her bed. It ran past us, scaring my wife. I was able to chase it to the patio where my wife shut the door behind us. It ran behind our stroller, so I opened the outside door and she moved the stroller. No cat. We searched our house for over 2 hours after that, and still no cat. About 2 months after that, I was in our dining room on the computer when I felt a cold chill. Suddenly, my wife let out a scream and the door to the basement slammed shut. I immediately ran to see her. When I entered the room, she was so pissed at me, asking, "How and why did you do that?" I asked, "What's wrong?" My wife replied, "You opened the basement door, peeked your head out at me, and gave me an evil smile." We both sat in silence, realizing the only entrance to the basement was right in front of us. We moved out a month later. Number 5. I was always skeptical that ghosts could exist, but after experiencing this firsthand, I am now and always will be a believer that there is more to our existence than we see. It all started one night my girlfriend and I were getting ready for bed. My girlfriend at the time lived in a really nice apartment by herself, so I would stay with her every few nights. As I was getting ready for bed and washing my face in the upstairs bathroom, I felt like she was standing next to me. I couldn't see with my face covered with soap and water, but I started talking to her. To my shock, when I dried my face and opened my eyes, no one was there. It sent chills down my back and left me with an eerie feeling. I told my girlfriend about it, and she said she felt something similar that evening. Regardless, we both went to sleep and didn't think anything else of it. This is when it gets weird. So the next day, we both get to her place at the same time. When she opens the garage, it's a double car garage, so I parked on the right and her on the left. One of her winter car tires was moved to the very center of the garage, so neither of us could park. I thought she was playing a joke on me after the night before, but I could tell she was genuinely upset and freaking out. Neither of us had an explanation for it, so we did the common sense thing, and we were sleeping at my apartment that night. My girlfriend was from out of town. She didn't have anyone else that had access to the apartment, so we both became worried that someone had broken in, even though nothing was stolen. The next day, we decided to put security alarms on all the doors. They were the type that had one glued to the door and one on the frame, so if that door is open, the alarm would go off. We put one on every single door, and it felt somewhat secure. But right as we were about to go to bed and turn the alarms on, we heard a swoosh sound and in the hall of the front door. Somehow the alarm was removed from the door and slid across the entire floor. We tried reenacting that sound. It would be like if it fell but it was totally different. Something took it off the door and slid it across the floor without it making a crashing falling sound. We slept at my apartment again that night. We ended up returning the next day and just put crosses all over the house, and we never had another issue. Where she lived, it was more so for older people due to high cost. We would see ambulance there all the time, so my guess it was a previous owner that maybe died and didn't want us still there. I don't know. All I do know is that ghosts, maybe demons, are real, and I will forever believe that. What do you guys make of my experience? Number 6. The property had a history of fires and rebuilding. It was small, but was eventually expanded during one of the rebuilds. It had burnt down and been rebuilt about 15 years before we moved in. Supposedly, the parts that were mostly affected by the fires were the newer parts. There were also rumors of one of the previous owners dying in the house in the surrounding area and nearby Royal Air Force Base being haunted. Most can be explained away. All our coffee cups crashing to the ground, noises coming from the attic, the unexplainable stench of lavender and stale cigarette smoke in the middle of the night, dogs barking at nothing, a water pipe randomly disconnecting in a closet in a bathroom, and releasing a torrent of water that caused a lot of damage in the rebuilt area, footsteps up and down the stairs at night, but 2 instances I still cannot explain. My partner and I were sitting on the daybed. There was a large entertainment center on the other side of the room. There's an alcove on the center that I always put my hair tie. We sat parallel to the entertainment center, facing each other. Then my hair tie shoots across the room from the alcove and hits the wall between us. I was about to go out for the night, and I was speaking to my mom in the hallway. My mom was talking to me, but her gaze shifted behind me, and she told me to hold on and greeted someone in the kitchen. I thought someone was peeking through the kitchen window, but she described seeing an old woman with white hair standing in the kitchen behind me. I heard someone whisper, "Hi," behind me. I just shut the kitchen door and left. We started greeting Mary anytime something weird happened or the lavender smell came back. I kinda miss her. Alright, y'all, I hope you liked that small collection of stories. I will see y'all this Saturday for Creepy Pasta Saturday. I love y'all so much. I'll see y'all soon. But until then, remember, it's scary out there. Please like and subscribe.
I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in the cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink and bleach. Cross